I never expected my CEO to steal my coffee, especially not during a board meeting, and I definitely never expected her to pick up the cup labeled, "For my future wife." Look at me. My name is Ethan Carter. I was the Senior Operations Manager at Sterling International Holdings. For 5 years, I worked directly under Victoria Sterling, the Ice Queen CEO, the woman who could make a room full of executives go silent with one sentence. She was 32 years old, a business genius, a billionaire before most people even reached their first major promotion. Everyone admired her, everyone feared her, but nobody knew her. At least, that was what they thought. Because I knew something nobody else did. Victoria Sterling secretly hated cold coffee. It was a strange thing to notice. But when you worked beside someone for 5 years, you noticed everything. You noticed when she skipped meals. You noticed when she was exhausted but refused to admit it. You noticed when she stared at the same document for 10 minutes because her mind was somewhere else. And you noticed that she always ordered coffee, then forgot to drink it. By the time she remembered, it was cold. The first time I replaced her coffee, she looked at me like I had committed a crime. "Ethan." "Yes? Did you touch my coffee?" I froze. "I replaced it." "Why?" "Because the old one was cold." She stared at me. "You replaced my coffee without permission?" I nodded. "Yes." Everyone around us expected me to get fired. Instead, Victoria picked up the new coffee, took a sip, and said, "Acceptable." That was the closest thing to praise from Victoria Sterling. And somehow, I remembered it for years. The truth was, working for Victoria was not easy. She demanded perfection. She expected everyone to give their best. But she also gave everything she had. When the company faced problems, she was the first person in the office. When employees struggled, she was the one secretly approving extra support. When someone failed, she asked what went wrong before deciding who was responsible. People saw the Ice Queen. I saw the woman behind her. That was probably why I started liking her. Quietly, without telling anyone, because Victoria Sterling was my CEO, and I was just an employee. Some feelings were better left alone. So instead, I joked with myself. Every morning, I made 2 coffees. One for me, one extra, just in case. My coworkers noticed. "Ethan," Ryan from finance said one morning, "why do you always make 2 coffees?" I shrugged. "One is extra." He laughed. "For who?" I smiled. "My future wife." Everyone laughed, because they thought I was joking. And honestly, I was too. Mostly. That morning, I wrote a small label on the cup. Not because I expected anyone to see it, just because I thought it was funny. The label said, "For my future wife." Then I placed it on the conference table. I completely forgot about it until the board meeting started. The meeting was one of the most important of the year. A major acquisition, 20 executives, 5 board members, and Victoria Sterling at the head of the table. She walked in exactly at 9 o'clock. Perfect timing, perfect appearance, dark suit, silver watch, calm expression. The entire room became quiet. "Good morning," Victoria said. Everyone responded. She sat down. The meeting began. 10 minutes later, I noticed something. Victoria reached for a coffee cup. Not hers. Mine. The extra one. The one sitting beside the documents. The one with the label. My heart stopped. "Miss Sterling." I almost said. Too late. She had already picked it up. She looked at the cup. Then she saw the label. "For my future wife." The entire boardroom became silent, because everyone saw it, including Victoria. I immediately reached forward. "Sorry, that is mine." Victoria looked at me, then at the label again. Her expression did not change. That was terrifying, because Victoria's calmest moments were usually the most dangerous. "You made this?" she asked. My face became hot. "Yes." "For your future wife?" The room suddenly felt much smaller. I wanted the floor to open. "Yes." A pause. Then Victoria did something nobody expected. She took a sip. The board members froze. I froze. Everyone froze. Victoria Sterling, the Ice Queen CEO, was drinking a coffee labeled, "For my future wife." One director coughed awkwardly. "Miss Sterling." She ignored him. She looked at me. "Ethan." "Yes?" "Is this coffee available every morning?" I blinked. "What?" "The coffee." She held up the cup. "Is it always made for your future wife?" I did not know how to answer. "Usually." Victoria nodded. then placed the cup beside her documents. Good. I stared. Good? Yes. A pause. Continue making it. The board meeting continued, but nobody was paying attention anymore, because everyone had one question. Why did the Ice Queen CEO just accept a coffee meant for someone else? After the meeting ended, everyone left. Only Victoria and I remained. I started collecting documents, trying to pretend nothing happened. Ethan. I stopped. Yes? Victoria was holding the coffee cup. The label was still there. Your future wife. She said. My heart skipped. Yes? She has good taste. I laughed nervously. She does not exist. Victoria looked at me. For a second, something changed in her eyes. Are you sure? I froze. What? She placed the cup down. Nothing. Then she walked away. I stood there confused, because I did not know that for 5 years, Victoria Sterling had been wondering the same thing. Who would be the person lucky enough to receive that coffee? And now, she had finally found out. The answer was her. The next morning, I thought everything would return to normal. That was what I told myself. The board meeting was over. The embarrassing coffee incident was over. Victoria Sterling had probably forgotten about it. At least, that was what I hoped. I was wrong. At 8:05 a.m., I walked into my office and immediately stopped. There was a coffee cup on my desk. Not just any coffee. The exact same type I always made. Same size. Same order. Same lid. I picked it up. Then I saw the label. My handwriting. The same words. For my future wife. I froze, because I knew I did not put it there. Ryan. I called. My coworker appeared at the door. You need something? Did you put this here? He looked at the coffee, then smiled. No. Then who did? Ryan raised his eyebrows. Are you seriously asking? I frowned. What? He pointed toward the hallway. The executive floor. Your future wife. I almost dropped the cup. Stop joking. I am not. Ryan. Ethan. He crossed his arms. You realize the entire company is talking about yesterday, right? I felt my face heat up. What are they saying? He laughed. That our Ice Queen CEO stole a coffee from a man's future wife. I sighed. That is not what happened. Then explain. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Because honestly, I could not explain it either. At 9 a.m., my assistant message appeared. Ms. Sterling wants to see you. My heart skipped. Of course. The CEO wanted to discuss the coffee. I walked into Victoria's office. She was sitting behind her desk. Working. As usual. She looked completely calm, which somehow made me more nervous. Ethan. Yes? Close the door. I did. She pointed at the chair. Sit. I sat. She continued reading documents. For 30 seconds. A minute. 2 minutes. I started wondering if I had imagined everything. Then she spoke. Your coffee was good. I froze. Thank you. A pause. However, there it was. The CEO tone. Your labeling system needs improvement. I blinked. My labeling system? Yes. She picked up a file. You wrote for my future wife. My face became hot again. Yes. Why? I laughed awkwardly. It was a joke. A joke? Yes. About your future wife? I nodded. Yes. Victoria looked at me. What kind of woman would receive this coffee? The question surprised me. What? My question is clear. I thought about it, then answered honestly. Someone who understands me. Victoria stopped moving. I continued. Someone who knows I am not perfect. Someone who does not care about my job title. Someone who appreciates small things. A pause. Someone I can come home to. The room became quiet. I realized I had said too much. Sorry. I said. I did not mean to make this strange. Victoria looked down. No, it is not strange. She picked up the coffee cup. The same one. The label was still attached. Actually, she said, I think she would be lucky. I looked at her. Who? Your future wife. Something about her voice was different. Not cold. Not professional. Almost jealous. But that was impossible. Victoria. Yes? Why did you keep the label? The question slipped out. She became silent. For a moment, I thought she would avoid answering. Then she said, because nobody has ever prepared something for me without wanting something in return. I froze. The Ice Queen CEO. The woman everyone wanted to impress. The The woman everyone wanted favors from was saying nobody had done something simple for her. Victoria. She looked away. I know it sounds ridiculous. No. It does. It does not. She smiled slightly. You always do things nobody asks for. I shrugged. I guess. Why? I thought about it, then answered. Because I notice. Victoria looked at me. And for a second, the CEO disappeared. Then her phone rang. She immediately returned to work mode. Sterling. She answered. I stood. Should I go? She nodded. Then stopped. Ethan. Yes? She looked at the coffee. Tomorrow. I waited. Make another one. I smiled. For your future wife? Victoria looked directly at me. Yes. I laughed. You are taking this joke seriously. Her expression remained calm. Too calm. Maybe. I walked out confused. Because I still believed it was just a joke. A harmless coffee label. A funny moment between an employee and his CEO. But what I did not know was that Victoria Sterling had never kept anything unnecessary. Not documents. Not gifts. Not memories. And that night, when everyone had left the office, she placed that empty coffee cup inside her desk drawer, along with the label, because for the first time in years, someone had written something meant for his future wife. And Victoria Sterling had started wondering, what if that future wife was already standing right beside him? The next morning, I made 2 coffees again. One for me. One extra. I stared at the second cup for several seconds, then picked up the marker. I almost wrote the same words. For my future wife. But after yesterday, the joke did not feel harmless anymore. So I wrote something safer. Extra coffee. I placed it beside my laptop. Problem solved. At least, I thought so. At 8:40 a.m., Victoria walked through the operations floor. That alone was unusual. The CEO rarely came down unless something required her attention. Every conversation around me became quieter. She passed 3 managers, 2 department heads, then stopped directly beside my desk. Her eyes moved toward the 2 cups. Ethan. Yes? She pointed at the second one. What happened? I frowned. To what? The label. Ryan immediately turned away. I knew he was listening. Actually, half the department was listening. I looked at the cup. I changed it. Victoria's expression remained perfectly calm. I can see that. Then why ask? Why did you change it? I lowered my voice. Because apparently people are taking my joke too seriously. Victoria looked around the office. Several employees instantly pretended to work. Then she looked back at me. And I thought extra coffee would create fewer rumors. She picked up the cup, read the label, then placed it back down. I preferred the old one. I stared at her. What? You heard me. Ryan coughed into his hand. Badly. Victoria glanced toward him. He suddenly became extremely interested in a spreadsheet. Victoria. Yes? You cannot say things like that in the middle of the office. Why? Because everyone will misunderstand. Her eyes met mine. What if they understand correctly? My brain stopped. Only for a second. But long enough for her to notice. A tiny smile appeared. Then she walked away. And took the coffee with her. At lunch, Ryan dropped into the chair across from me. You have a problem. I know. No. You do not understand. He leaned closer. The CEO came downstairs personally because you changed the words on her coffee. It is not her coffee. Ryan stared at me. Tell her that. I opened my mouth. Then closed it again. He laughed. Exactly. By afternoon, the situation became worse. We had another executive meeting. I arrived early and arranged the reports. This time, I deliberately brought only 1 coffee. Mine. No second cup. No label. Nothing anyone could misunderstand. Victoria entered 5 minutes later. She sat at the head of the table, looked at the documents, then looked beside me. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Ethan. Yes? Where is it? I knew immediately, but I pretended not to. Where is what? The coffee. Several executives looked between us. I cleared my throat. I only made 1 today. Victoria stared at me. For yourself. Yes. A pause. Interesting. That single word terrified me more than any argument. 20 minutes into the meeting, Victoria reached across the table. She took my coffee, then drank from it. The entire room went silent. I stared at her. That was mine. I know. You have your own. It is cold. I looked toward her untouched cup. Of course it was. One board member slowly lowered his pen. Another suddenly found the ceiling fascinating. Victoria continued reviewing the financial report like stealing my coffee was completely normal. I leaned closer. You realize everyone is watching, she whispered back without looking at me. Good. Why is that good? Because maybe you will stop pretending you do not understand. I froze. Understand what? Before she could answer, the chairman interrupted. Ms. Sterling? Victoria looked up. Yes? We need your opinion on the succession proposal. The atmosphere changed instantly. A document appeared on the main screen. I recognized the title. Executive Partnership Expansion Plan. The board had been discussing it for months. Victoria needed someone to share responsibility for the company's international operations. Someone with authority almost equal to hers. Several famous executives had been considered. None had been selected. The chairman asked, "Have you decided who you want?" Victoria placed my coffee down. Yes. The directors immediately became attentive. Who? She turned her head and looked directly at me. My stomach dropped. Ethan Carter. Silence. Complete silence. I stared at her. Victoria? The chairman looked almost as shocked as I felt. Mr. Carter? Yes. Why? Victoria answered calmly. Because he already does half the job without the title. I immediately shook my head. I do not need a promotion because of a coffee joke. That earned a few nervous laughs. Victoria did not laugh. This has nothing to do with coffee. She opened a folder. Inside were years of performance records. Mine. Projects I had saved. Clients I had recovered. Systems I had redesigned. Some achievements I had almost forgotten. Victoria placed the folder in front of the board. I did not notice Ethan because I liked him. A pause. I liked him because I noticed him. Nobody spoke, including me, because somehow those two sentences explained more than everything she had said before. After the meeting, I followed her into the hallway. Victoria. She stopped. Yes? You cannot make decisions like that because you. I hesitated. Because I what? I lowered my voice. Because you care about me. For once, she did not hide behind the CEO expression. I know. Then why nominate me? Because caring about you does not erase your ability. She stepped closer. And your ability does not erase the fact that I care. My heart beat harder. I looked away first. Then Victoria handed me the empty coffee cup. The label still said, "Extra coffee." She took the marker from my pocket, crossed the words out, and wrote something underneath, then handed it back. I looked down. Reserved. I looked at her. For who? Victoria walked toward the elevator. Just before the doors closed, she answered, "Figure it out." That evening, I found something waiting on my desk. Not flowers. Not a gift. A new coffee cup. And one small handwritten note. Tomorrow, use the original label. Underneath it, "I'm tired of drinking coffee meant for someone who doesn't exist yet." I stared at the note for a long time, because suddenly the joke was gone. Victoria Sterling was not asking for coffee anymore. She was asking whether I was finally ready to understand who had been taking it. The next morning, I stood in front of the coffee machine for almost a full minute. One cup for me, one cup for Victoria, and one stupid marker in my hand. I knew exactly what she wanted me to write. The original label. The one that started everything. For my future wife. I stared at the blank cup, then laughed quietly. This is ridiculous. Talking to coffee now? Ryan's voice came from behind me. I turned. Go away. He looked at the cup, then at the marker, then smiled. Oh. I frowned. What? You are scared. I am not. You absolutely are. I ignored him, then finally wrote the words. For my future wife. Ryan leaned closer. So that is officially hers now? No. He laughed. Sure. I carried both coffees upstairs. The executive floor was already busy. Several directors were preparing for the morning strategy session. Victoria was inside the conference room. I placed her coffee beside her file. She looked at the label, then at me. For once, she did not hide the satisfaction in her eyes. You listened. I sat down. I follow instructions. She raised an eyebrow. I thought you said I was not allowed to treat this like an order. That depends. On what? Whether you are going to keep stealing my coffee. A few executives heard that. Nobody laughed. Nobody was brave enough. Victoria picked up the cup, then stopped making it for someone else. I looked at her. You are very confident. Yes. About being my future wife? Yes. The room went completely silent. I stared at her. She calmly took a sip, then opened the meeting. Now, international expansion. That was Victoria. She could publicly declare herself my future wife, then immediately discuss a billion-dollar market strategy. The board reviewed my nomination for executive partner. This time, the discussion was serious. Not about gossip, about whether I could handle the role. One director asked, Mr. Carter, if selected, what would you change first? I answered honestly, communication. He frowned. Communication? Yes. Why? Because half our delays come from departments protecting information instead of sharing it. Victoria glanced at me. She knew exactly what I meant. Another director asked, and if your strategy conflicts with Ms. Sterling's? I smiled slightly. Then I tell her. Several people looked uncomfortable. The director almost laughed. You tell the CEO she is wrong? Yes. Victoria calmly added. He does it often. A few people finally laughed. And for the first time, the meeting felt less like a trial. The vote was scheduled for the following week. Until then, I would lead one major project independently. No intervention from Victoria. No special treatment. After the meeting, I found her in her office. You agreed to the independence requirement quickly. She looked up. Of course. You are not worried? No. Why? Because I know you can do it. I leaned against the desk. And if I fail? She looked at me. Then you fail. That surprised me. No rescue? No. No CEO protection? No. I smiled. That sounds harsh. It is respect. That answer stayed with me. Victoria did not want to carry me. She wanted to stand beside someone who could carry himself. The project began that afternoon. A struggling acquisition in Seattle. The numbers were bad. The local team was divided. Two executives wanted completely different strategies. Usually, Victoria would step in. This time, she stayed away. Completely. For 3 days, I barely saw her. No surprise visits. No secret suggestions. No messages asking whether I needed help. And strangely, I missed her. On Friday night, I was still in the office reviewing contracts when someone placed a coffee beside my laptop. I looked up. Victoria. The cup had a label. Not my handwriting. Hers. For my future husband. I stared at it. Then at her. You did not. I did. You copied me. Yes. That is plagiarism. She almost smiled. Report me. I picked up the coffee. It was exactly how I liked it. You remembered. Victoria looked offended. Of course I remembered. I took a sip, then asked, why are you here? You have been working for 14 hours. So I am taking you home. I laughed. You really enjoy deciding things. Yes. Then she looked at the project documents. Any problems? I hesitated. You promised no intervention. I asked whether there were problems. That sounds like intervention. No. She sat across from me. It sounds like someone asking how your day went. I became quiet, because that was different. I closed the file. It is difficult. Victoria nodded. I know. The Seattle team does not trust headquarters. I know. They think we only care about numbers. Yes. And I think they are right. Most CEOs would have reacted defensively. Victoria did not. She simply asked, what are you going to do? I thought for a moment. Go there myself. When? Tomorrow. She nodded. Good. Then she stood. I am coming. I frowned. No. Victoria stopped. No. You said this project is mine. Yes. Then let me do it. For a second, I expected an argument. Instead, she smiled. Okay. That surprised me more than anything. You are actually letting me go alone? Yes. Why? Because you asked me to trust you. A pause. So I will. The next morning, I flew to Seattle. For the first time in 5 years. I handled a major company crisis without Victoria anywhere near me. And 2 days later, the entire strategy changed. The local leadership agreed to stay. The acquisition stabilized. The project moved forward. When I returned to headquarters, the board was waiting. So was Victoria. The chairman looked at the report, then at me. Mr. Carter. Yes? The project exceeded expectations. I smiled. Thank you. Then he looked at Victoria. Miss Sterling, did you advise him? She answered. No. Not once? No. The chairman nodded. Then said, I think the board has its answer. My nomination was approved. Unanimously. The room applauded. But I only looked at Victoria. She looked proud, not surprised. Proud. After everyone left, she handed me another coffee. The label. For my future husband. I smiled. So we are doing this every day now? Yes. Until when? She stepped closer. Until one of us stops writing future. My heart skipped. Before I could answer, her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Her expression changed. What happened? I asked. She handed me the phone. A message from her mother. Dinner Sunday. Bring Ethan. I'm tired of hearing about my future son-in-law without meeting him. I looked at Victoria. You told your mother? She looked completely calm. Yes. How much? All of it. I stared at her. You really do not waste time. No. Then she took my hand and said, Sunday, you meet my family. I laughed nervously. And if they do not like me? Victoria's expression became perfectly calm. They will. That confident? Yes. Why? She squeezed my hand. Because I already chose. And somehow, that was more intimidating than the board meeting. I had faced investors who controlled billions. I had led crisis meetings with entire divisions watching. I had walked into failing projects with no guaranteed solution. But somehow, meeting Victoria Sterling's mother made me more nervous than all of them. Sunday evening, Victoria picked me up herself. No driver. No assistant. No company car. Just Victoria. She was wearing a dark green coat instead of a business suit. That alone felt strange. You look different. I said. She glanced at me. Different? Yes. How? You look less like the CEO. She was silent for a second. Then asked. And more like what? I smiled. Victoria. She looked away. But I saw the smile. The drive took 40 minutes. Her family lived outside the city in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing about the house looked like the home of a billionaire family. It was elegant, but warm, lived in. The moment the door opened, a woman stepped forward. She looked at Victoria, then at me. So, she smiled. You are Ethan. I blinked. Yes, ma'am. Victoria sighed. Mom. What? You are staring. I waited 5 years. I froze. 5 years? Victoria's expression changed. Her mother smiled wider. Oh, you did not tell him? I looked at Victoria. Tell me what? Victoria calmly removed her coat. Nothing important. Her mother laughed. That means it is very important. Dinner started before I could get an answer. Victoria's mother, Eleanor, asked about my family, my work, what I like doing outside the office. That last question almost defeated me. What do you do for fun? She asked. I thought, then thought longer. Victoria looked at me. He works. I frowned. That is not helpful. Eleanor shook her head. Exactly why my daughter likes you. I nearly dropped my fork. Victoria closed her eyes. Mom. Eleanor ignored her. You know, Victoria started mentioning you years ago. I looked at Victoria. She did? No. Victoria answered. Her mother immediately said. Yes. I laughed. This is getting interesting. Victoria looked at me. Do not encourage her. Eleanor leaned toward me. At first it was always work. Ethan fixed this. Ethan noticed that. Ethan disagreed with me. I smiled. That last one sounds accurate. Then it changed. Eleanor continued. She started saying things like, Ethan forgot lunch. Ethan is still at the office. Ethan looked tired today. The room became quiet. I looked at Victoria. She looked annoyed, but not angry, embarrassed. I had never seen Victoria Sterling embarrassed in my life, and I loved it. After dinner, Eleanor disappeared into the kitchen. Victoria immediately stood. We are leaving. I laughed. No. She looked at me. No, I want to hear the rest. There is no rest. Her mother called from the kitchen. There is a lot more. Victoria stared at me. I smiled. This might be the best evening of my life. For once, the Ice Queen CEO had no defense. Later, her mother asked me to help carry dessert outside. When we were alone, she became serious. Ethan. Yes? Can I ask you something? Of course. Do you understand my daughter? The question surprised me. I think so. Eleanor nodded slowly. She is not easy. I know. She does not ask for help. I know. She does not admit when she is lonely. I became quiet. Then Eleanor said, Do not mistake her confidence for not needing anyone. I looked toward the dining room. Victoria was standing by the window. Alone. Waiting for us. I don't. I said. Eleanor smiled. Good. Then she handed me the dessert. Because she has spent years pretending she does not need you. My heart skipped. Years? Eleanor looked amused. You really are slow. Apparently everyone knew except me. When we left, Victoria was unusually quiet. I waited until we reached the car. 5 years? She stopped. What? Your mother said you have been talking about me for 5 years. Victoria opened the car door. She exaggerates. How much? Silence. Victoria. She sighed. Maybe 4. I stared. 4 years? Yes. And you never said anything? You work for me. So I did not want you wondering whether saying no would affect your job. That answer stopped me. Because suddenly I understood something important. Victoria had not been waiting because she was afraid of rejection. She had been waiting because she did not want her power to trap me. You were protecting my choice. I said. She looked at me. Yes. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then I asked. So why take the coffee? Victoria smiled slightly. Because you finally gave me something I could accept without asking you for anything. I laughed softly. A cup of coffee? No. She stepped closer. Permission. My heart beat harder. The drive back was quiet, but this time, it was comfortable. When we reached my apartment, Victoria did not immediately leave. She handed me a small paper bag. What is this? Open it. Inside was a reusable coffee cup. Simple. Black. No company logo. And on the side, engraved in small letters. For my future husband. I stared. You had this made? Yes. When? After the first board meeting. I laughed. You planned ahead. I usually do. Then she added. But there is one thing I cannot plan. What? She looked directly at me. Your answer. The air changed. I knew exactly what she meant. Not the coffee. Not the board position. Us. Before I could respond, my phone rang. Ryan. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. Ethan. His voice sounded serious. What happened? You need to check the company group. Why? There is a photo. My expression changed. What photo? Ryan hesitated. You and Victoria. I looked at her. At her parents' house. My stomach tightened. Someone had photographed us privately. Then Ryan added. And whoever posted it wrote one sentence. What? He read it aloud. The CEO's future husband got promoted before the relationship was public. Coincidence? I slowly lowered the phone. Victoria had already understood from my expression. What? She asked. I showed her. Her face became cold. Not embarrassed. Not afraid. Angry. Because someone had crossed a line. They had not attacked her company. They had entered her family's home. Victoria looked at me. Ethan. Yes? Tomorrow, we stop hiding. I frowned. What do you mean? She took the reusable cup from my hand, turned the engraving toward me, then said, if they want to know who my future husband is. A pause. I'll tell them myself. The next morning, Sterling International felt different. Usually, Monday mornings were predictable. Employees rushed into the building. Executives prepared reports. Everyone complained about meetings. But today, everyone was watching the same thing. Their CEO. And me. I knew something had changed the moment I walked into the lobby. People stopped talking. Not because I was important. Because they were trying not to look obvious. Ryan appeared beside me. You saw it? I asked. He nodded. Everyone saw it. I sighed. The photo. The message. The accusation. It had spread throughout the company overnight. A simple picture of Victoria and me leaving her parents' house. A private moment. Turned into a corporate scandal. They are saying you got promoted because of her. Ryan said. I looked at him. Do you believe that? He immediately shook his head. Not for a second. Then why are people talking? He looked toward the executive elevators. Because people love stories where the powerful person secretly helps someone. A pause. And because they cannot imagine someone like Victoria choosing someone like you. I smiled slightly. Someone like me? You know what I mean. I did. Victoria Sterling was a billionaire CEO. I was the person who fixed problems behind the scenes. To outsiders, we made no sense. At 9 a.m., every executive received a message. Emergency company meeting. Everyone knew why. The boardroom was full. Directors, executives, department leaders. And at the center, Victoria. She looked exactly the same as always. Calm, elegant, untouchable. Except today. She was sitting beside me, not across from me. Beside me. That alone shocked everyone. The chairman looked around the room. Miss Sterling. Yes. Do you want to address the situation? Victoria nodded. Yes. She stood. The room became silent. I assume everyone here has seen the photo. Nobody answered. They did not need to. Victoria continued. You have also seen the rumors. A pause. That Ethan Carter received opportunities because of his relationship with me. She looked at me, then back at everyone. That accusation is false. A director raised his hand. Miss Sterling. Yes? Can you explain why? Victoria nodded. I can. She picked up a folder. Inside were my records. Again. But this time, she did something unexpected. She gave them to the board. Not because she needed to defend me. Because she wanted everyone to see. Before Ethan and I had any personal relationship, he had already solved major company problems. Before he had any title, he had already created value. Before anyone knew we were close, he was already the person I trusted most. The room became quiet. Then one executive asked, But Miss Sterling, even if his ability is real, does your personal relationship create a conflict? That was the real question. Victoria looked at me, then answered, Yes. Everyone was surprised. She continued, Any relationship between two people with professional power requires transparency. That is why today, she placed a document on the table. I am making my decision public. The chairman looked at the document. His eyes widened slightly. What is this? Victoria answered, My revised leadership agreement. The room waited. Ethan Carter will continue as executive partner. However, a pause. To remove any possible conflict. I will no longer personally approve his promotions, compensation, or performance reviews. Silence. She had removed the only argument against me. A director nodded slowly. That is a reasonable solution. But Victoria was not finished. She looked around the room. And there is one more announcement. I felt my heartbeat increase. Because I knew. Victoria took a breath. For 5 years, I have worked with Ethan Carter. Everyone listened. And during those 5 years, he has been the person who understood this company better than anyone. She turned toward me, then said, Today, I want everyone to know, he is not my assistant. He is not my employee. A pause. He is the person I chose. The room froze. I forgot how to breathe, because Victoria Sterling had just said it, publicly, in front of the entire leadership team. The chairman looked at her. Miss Sterling. Yes? Are you announcing a personal relationship? Victoria answered calmly. Yes. The room erupted. Not chaos, but shock. Whispers. Surprise. Questions. And then, something unexpected happened. The oldest director in the room stood. Everyone looked at him. He walked toward me. Mr. Carter. Yes? He extended his hand. Congratulations. I was confused. On what? He smiled. On being the first person who made Victoria Sterling admit she has feelings. The room laughed. Even Victoria looked slightly embarrassed. After the meeting ended, I followed Victoria back to her office. I closed the door. Victoria. Yes? You really did that. She looked at me. Did what? Announced everything. Yes. Without asking me? She became quiet. For a second, I thought she regretted it. Then she said, I should have asked. I smiled. That is all? Yes. I laughed. Most people would defend themselves. I was wrong. That surprised me. Victoria Sterling admitting a mistake. Another miracle. But, she continued, I knew something. What? That if I asked, you would worry about me. I became silent. Because she was right. She stepped closer. Ethan. Yes? Do you regret it? The announcement? Yes. I looked at her. The woman who took my coffee. The woman who came to my office. The woman who stood in front of the entire company and chose me. No. Her eyes softened. Good. Then my phone rang. Again. I looked at the screen. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? A man's voice appeared. Ethan Carter? Yes. You should ask your CEO one question. My expression changed. What question? The man laughed. Ask her why someone from her past is returning. I frowned. Who are you? The answer came quietly. The man Victoria Sterling was supposed to marry. The call ended. I slowly lowered my phone. Victoria immediately noticed. What happened? I looked at her. And for the first time, I saw something change in her expression. Not anger. Fear. Victoria. Yes? Who was that? She was silent, then whispered. Someone I thought was gone forever. For the first time since I met her, Victoria Sterling looked uncertain. Not in a business meeting. Not during a crisis. Not when billions of dollars were at risk. But because of one phone call. The man I thought was gone forever. Those words stayed in my mind. Because Victoria was not someone who was easily shaken. Yet one sentence from an unknown caller changed everything. Victoria. I asked again. Who was he? She did not answer immediately. That silence told me enough. This was not just someone from her past. This was someone important. She walked toward the window. The city stretched below us. Usually, Victoria looked at that view like someone who owned the world. Today, she looked like someone remembering a part of herself she had buried. His name is Daniel Whitmore. The name meant nothing to me. Who is he? Victoria was quiet, then said, someone I almost married. The room became completely silent. I knew I should not react. Everyone had a past. Victoria was 32. Successful. Brilliant. Beautiful. Of course there had been someone before me. But hearing it directly still felt different. When? I asked. Before I became CEO. She sat down. Before Sterling International became what it is today. I waited. Because I knew Victoria. She would not tell a story unless it mattered. Daniel and I grew up together. She said. He was my father's business partner's son. Everyone thought we would eventually be together. I nodded slowly. A family arrangement? Something like that. She looked at the floor. But I never chose him. That surprised me. Then why almost marry him? Victoria smiled sadly. Because at that time, I thought marriage was another responsibility. That sounded exactly like the old Victoria. The woman who carried everything. What happened? He wanted control. Her answer was simple. But I understood. Of the company? Yes. Of you? A pause. Yes. Victoria continued. When my father became ill, Daniel believed he should help manage Sterling International. But you refused. Yes. Then? He left. I frowned. Just like that? No. Her expression became colder. He tried to take control. She explained. Daniel had access to some family connections. He believed Victoria needed him. He believed the company needed him. But Victoria refused to hand over control. Their relationship ended. And Daniel disappeared overseas. Why did you think he was gone forever? I asked. Because he promised never to return. A pause. And because I believed he understood. I looked at her. But he didn't. No. The next morning, the entire company received an invitation. A private investment announcement. The sender. Whitmore Capital Group. Ryan showed me the email. You have got to be kidding. I looked at him. What? He pointed at the screen. Daniel Whitmore. The same Daniel? I nodded. Ryan looked uncomfortable. Victoria's ex? Yes. And he is coming here? Apparently. By noon, the lobby was full. Investors. Reporters. Executives. Because Daniel Whitmore was not just Victoria's past. He had become one of the youngest billionaires in Europe. The elevator doors opened. A man walked out. Perfect suit. Confident smile. Calm expression. The type of person who knew everyone would look at him. He walked directly toward Victoria. Not toward the executives. Not toward the investors. Victoria. Victoria. She looked at him. Daniel. He smiled. You look exactly the same. Victoria's expression did not change. You don't. A small smile appeared on his face. Still cold. I stepped forward. Daniel looked at me. For a moment, he said nothing. Then smiled. And you must be Ethan. I frowned. You know me? Everyone knows you. A pause. The man who replaced me. The atmosphere changed. Victoria immediately said, Daniel. But he ignored her. He looked at me. I have to admit. You surprised me. How? 5 years ago, nobody believed Victoria would let anyone get close. A pause. Then you appeared. I looked at him. Why are you here? Daniel smiled. To invest. I laughed softly. Only that? His eyes moved toward Victoria. No. The entire lobby became quiet. I came back because I realized something. What? Victoria asked. Daniel looked at her. I lost the only woman who ever challenged me. Victoria's expression remained cold. Daniel. Yes? That was years ago. I know. Then why return? His smile disappeared. Because I heard you finally chose someone. He looked at me, and I wanted to see who. I did not like the way he said it. Not jealousy, not anger, something worse. Like he was evaluating me. That evening, Victoria and I had dinner. She was unusually quiet. Are you worried? I asked. No. Then what? She looked at me. I am worried about you. Me? Yes. Why? Because Daniel is not like Alexander. I frowned. How is he different? Victoria answered. Alexander wanted power. A pause. Daniel wants to prove he deserves what he lost. I looked at her. And what did he lose? Victoria was silent. Then said, me. Before I could answer, my phone received a message. From Daniel. Only one sentence. Ethan Carter, tomorrow I will show you why Victoria almost chose me. I looked at Victoria. She immediately understood. What did he send? I handed her the phone. She read it. Her expression became cold. Then she said something I had never heard before. Ethan. Yes? Do not compete with him. I frowned. Why? Because Victoria took my hand. And said, because you already won. But I did not know. Daniel Whitmore had not returned to win Victoria back. He had returned with a secret. A secret from before I met her. A secret that could change how Victoria and I started. I spent the entire night thinking about Daniel Whitmore. Not because I was afraid of him. Because I was trying to understand why Victoria had once almost chosen him. Everyone had a past. I knew that. But Victoria was different. She was the woman who had spent years hiding her emotions. The woman who treated every decision like a business calculation. So if she had almost married someone, there had to be a reason. The next morning, Daniel invited me to meet him. Not Victoria. Me. A private meeting. At first, I wanted to refuse. Then Victoria said something unexpected. Go! I looked at her. Really? Yes. You are not worried? No. Why? She looked at me calmly. Because I trust you. Those 4 words mattered more than I expected. Because Victoria Sterling did not give trust easily. The meeting was held at Daniel's private office. The place was impressive. Modern. Expensive. Perfect. Everything looked designed to show success. Daniel was waiting beside the window. Ethan. I nodded. Daniel. He smiled. Thank you for coming. I want to know why you asked me here. Direct. Daniel seemed to appreciate that. Victoria was right about you. I frowned. About what? You do not waste time. He sat down. I remained standing. I know what you think. Daniel said. What? That I came back to take Victoria away. Did you? A long silence. Then he smiled. No. That surprised me. Then why? Daniel looked at the city outside. Because I owe her an apology. I said nothing. Years ago, I thought loving someone meant protecting them. A pause. I was wrong. He continued. I thought Victoria needed someone powerful beside her. But Victoria never needed a person to stand in front of her. She needed someone who could stand beside her. I looked at him. The words sounded familiar. Almost exactly like what I had learned. Then why tell me this? I asked. Daniel smiled slightly. Because I wanted to know what kind of man she chose. I waited. And? He looked at me. Now I know. I frowned. What does that mean? Daniel stood. Victoria spent years looking for someone who would not be impressed by her power. A pause. You are the first person who never treated her like a CEO. I thought about that. The first time I met her. The arguments. The coffee. The late nights. The moments when I forgot she was one of the most powerful women in the world. Then Daniel handed me a folder. What is this? Something you should see. I opened it. My expression changed. Because inside was an old company proposal. 5 years old. The title. Executive Partnership Recommendation. The candidate. Ethan Carter. I froze. Again. My name. Again. Before I knew anything. Why do you have this? Daniel answered. Because I was there. I looked at him. What? 5 years ago, Victoria asked me for advice. About me? Yes. My heart tightened. What did you tell her? Daniel smiled. I told her not to. I stared. Why? Because I thought she was making the same mistake I made. He looked at the document. I thought she was choosing someone because she needed them. But I was wrong. What changed? Daniel answered. I watched her. She never used your talent for herself. She never made you dependent on her. She never trapped you. A pause. She spent 5 years proving she could let you leave. That sentence hit me. Because it was true. When I returned to Sterling International, Victoria was waiting. She was standing by the window. Did you meet him? Yes. What did he say? I looked at her. He said something interesting. What? That you never tried to make me stay. Victoria became quiet. Because I couldn't. I frowned. Why? She looked at me. Because if I forced you to stay, then I would become exactly what Daniel thought I was. I stepped closer. Victoria. Yes? You know something? What? You are terrible at understanding how much people choose you. She looked surprised. I smiled. You always think people stay because they have to. A pause. But sometimes, they stay because they want to. For the first time, Victoria looked emotional. That evening, the company held a major investor dinner. Daniel attended. So did Victoria. And me. Everyone expected tension. A competition. A fight between two men. But something unexpected happened. During the dinner, an investor asked, Mr. Whitmore, you and Ms. Sterling have known each other for years. Yes. Do you think Ethan Carter is suitable for her? The entire table became quiet. Everyone waited. Daniel looked at Victoria, then at me, and smiled. Yes. The answer surprised everyone. The investor asked, why? Daniel replied, because Victoria has spent her entire life finding people who wanted something from her. A pause. Ethan is the first person who wanted her when she had nothing to offer. Victoria looked at me, and I saw something. Pride. After the dinner ended, Daniel approached us. Victoria. She nodded. Daniel. I owe you an apology. She said nothing. I spent years believing I lost you because someone else won. A pause. But I was wrong. He looked at me. You did not lose her. She chose someone who understood her. Then he left. On the way home, Victoria was quiet. Are you okay? I asked. Yes. Really? She nodded. Then after a moment, I was afraid. I looked at her. Of what? That when you knew about Daniel, you would compare yourself. I smiled. Victoria. Yes? I do not need to be better than your past. A pause. I only need to be the person you choose now. She looked at me, then reached into her bag. She took out a coffee cup. My coffee cup. The one with the old label. But now the words had changed. Not for my future wife. Instead, for my wife. I froze. Victoria. She looked away. You said future. Yes. I got tired of waiting. I laughed. The Ice Queen CEO, the woman who controlled billion-dollar decisions, had changed a coffee label. And somehow, that meant more than any grand gesture. Because I finally understood. Victoria Sterling never needed someone to save her. She needed someone who would choose her. And every day, I would. That's all for today. Remember to subscribe and support us.